Kingdom Hearts was a game from my childhood that eluded me. I grew up poor, so I never had a PS2 to play it, but I was finally able to play this game recently and felt the need to make a video about it. So because I didn't play it when I was younger, I will not be looking at this game through the nostalgia goggles like I might look at other games. And I will be answering the age-old question, was Kingdom Hearts even good? It all started at my local card shop, where my older brother and I would go play D&D and Magic the Gathering every Friday. Yes, I'm a nerd, I know. That's when I saw it. Kingdom Hearts. One of the regulars brought in his whole PS2 system and hooked it up to a small TV to play through the game. By this time, the game had already been out for a number of years, but like I said, I never had a PS2, so I had no clue what it was. The only time I knew of game releases back then is when I would flip through the Game Informer magazine, but never buy it. Watching this guy play through Kingdom Hearts was a big moment for me, and I fell in love with the idea of the game without ever even playing it. A feeling that I still had up until recently, until I finally got to play it. Now I want to break this video down into multiple topics, and I want to start with the story and the characters first. Now there will be spoilers for a 20-year-old game, so please be warned. You start the game on an island as the main character, Sora. As you play through the tutorial, you will meet a few other main characters, Kairi and Riku. But more importantly to me, Tidus, Selphie, and Waka. The fact that Kingdom Hearts is a mashup of Disney and Final Fantasy was wild to me. Like, who came up with this idea? This genius. This genius right here did. Final Fantasy VIII was my favorite growing up, so seeing Selphie on the island presented in this kid version was super cool to me and gave me a huge fat hit of nostalgia before I even started playing the game. In fact, this whole game fed off of my nostalgia even though I've never played it. Through the Disney characters that everyone grew up with to one of the best RPG franchises to date, this game hits you hard in the feels and is the main reason this game grew such a cult fan base. Now the characters in this game are mostly from Disney and Final Fantasy, but they are sort of like an alternate version of them in a way. The backstories are all sort of similar, but dumbed down to fit them all into this one game. I won't be talking too much about the characters from Final Fantasy or Disney, except for Donald, which is the most OP character of the game, but I do want to talk about the original characters of Kingdom Hearts, starting with Sora, who some would say is a bit naive and goofy, no pun intended, which is kind of what you expect from a literal child. I saw so much hate online towards how dumb Sora is, but he's a literal child. I really didn't understand the hate in that regard because I loved watching Sora grow as a character as he finds out more of what's going on in the world around him. Riku, on the other hand, I hate it. I thought you was my boy, Riku. Why you betray me like that? Now, in all seriousness, Riku is a great character. His edginess fully contrasts Sora's character in such a way that really has people fighting over which one is better. And I've even seen some arguments saying Riku should have been the main character. Anyway, on to Kairi, the girl who these two are fighting over in the first part of the game. Well, Kairi suddenly vanishes for a long time, and it's our mission to find her from here on out. Now, there are so many little side stories through quests and different planets, but I don't want to make this a 3-hour-long video, so we'll just focus on the main story. At this point, Sora and Riku are fighting because Maleficent made the darkness overtake Riku. What is the darkness, you say? Well, it's the opposite of light. And it's also the thing that turns people into heartless in the first place, which are the enemies you will be fighting for a majority of the game. And Sora kind of has something like that happen to him as well, but I'll let you figure that out through the game. Now, while today the story of light and dark is a little bit played out in my opinion, Kingdom Hearts did it in such a tasteful way that doesn't seem too overdone. Mickey, who is also in the game, claims that darkness and light are interdependent and cannot exist without one another. Sort of like yin and yang. You can't live with them, you can't live without them. It is a super heartwarming story about the power of friendship. And it really does hit hard for me, as cheesy as it may sound. It really kept me engaged the entire time, waiting to find out what happens next. So, on to the gameplay. Kingdom Hearts, being an action RPG, had extremely fluid movement and attack mechanics for the game at the time. And yes, as a first-time player playing this game, the controls 100% hold up and stand the test of time. Except for Atlantis. Who the hell thought this planet was a good idea? This genius. This genius right here. The game literally takes away all of your movement abilities and locks you into swimming throughout this entire planet, which makes it feel like the longest planet there is. Couple that with the most irritating boss fight to ever exist in any video game. This makes Atlantis my least favorite planet, and to be honest, makes it a huge outlier from the rest of the game. Although some people might think the fighting in this game gets too repetitive, it personally felt amazing to me the entire time I played, except Atlantis. From the basic attacks to using literal Final Fantasy spells and summons, it just had a great fluidity that you don't usually see from games in that time period. Now, talking about spells and summons, this is where I felt right at home. I played through so many of the Final Fantasy games when I was younger, so when I saw this is how they were set up in Kingdom Hearts, it made me feel super comfortable and made me think, why didn't they make a Final Fantasy action RPG sooner? Now, one other thing I don't really care for in this game is the amount of backtracking you have to do in some parts, or even just the layout of different planets. Both just feel super outdated, which is totally understandable. But even with the hardware limitations the PS2 had, this game still felt huge. But when you get into the action of this game, that's where it really shines in my opinion. The boss battles were really fun in this game too, except Atlantis. Going through the Colosseum was some of the most frustrating yet fair fights I've ever had in a video game. Although I was just a bit thrown off by the last boss fight in the game. Just felt like they could have done a little bit more there. Is Kingdom Hearts a Souls-like? Lastly, I wanted to touch a bit on the overall feel and vibe of the game. There's no doubt a huge whiff of nostalgia that comes with playing this game, even if you've never played it before, from what I've experienced. Not only the characters from Disney and Final Fantasy, but also the original characters like Sora and Riku. While playing through the game, I couldn't help but think about my own childhood and the friendships I've made along the way. It truly made me cherish the friendships I've had with the people I've known my whole life. It is a weird phenomenon, but after playing Kingdom Hearts, many people have felt this sensation from what I could see on Reddit. And like I said in the beginning, it's a story about friendship, but not in a cheesy way at all. I think this is why so many people love this franchise. It shows you what you can be when you have people around you that love and care for you as these characters in the game do. While I was nearing the end of this game, I just didn't want it to end. So much so that I would pause in between missions just to run around the world. Looking back on it, I would have loved to play this game as a kid, but if I did, I may have just beaten it and never thought about it again. However, since I played it for the first time as an adult, I feel like I was able to appreciate this game much more and appreciate the deeper underlying tones and nuances of the story. If you are like me and have actually never played this game, do it. It will change the way you think about the world and the people around you that you might be taking for granted. Oh yeah, and there's this thing called a gummy ship. You can fully customize it and you use it to traverse between planets. I, however, did not even touch this mechanic of the game. I just had the base gummy ship the entire time. And I'm sure it's a very fun part of the game. I just didn't do anything with it. Okay, I kind of lied in the beginning. When I was a kid, I did play through a Kingdom Hearts game, but it was the Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories on the Game Boy Advance. But since I was a kid, I never paid attention to the story or what the characters even meant to each other since I was playing the sequel. That is until I played Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories on the PS2. And let me tell you, I have a lot to say about that game and how the two differ from GBA to PS2, so make sure you subscribe for that video. Now, there is a lot of stuff that I left out of this video involving the story, characters, and everything just about the video game. But like I said, I did not want to make it 3 hours long. These short retrospective videos are just meant to be a small window into the video game and not really explaining the entire video game as a whole. And this is my very first one, so let me know how I did. You can also leave in the comments what I can do to improve on these videos in the future, because I will be doing a lot more of these. And as this video closes out, I just want to leave you guys with one final question. Was Kingdom Hearts even good?